5 years of service. We are so very excited. My name is LaWanna Gibbons, and I am the coordinator of the annual Freedom Fund Gala. I hope that you are enjoying yourself so far. All right, isn't this room beautiful? Absolutely. Let's give the decorators a big round of applause. So I'm excited to bring up our Master of Ceremonies this evening. He's excited. This is his first time hosting for us, and I know he'll do a marvelous job. And, you know, just give him some encouragement. You know, those hand claps help, especially when you're trying to do your best. And I know he will do a fabulous job, keep us on task. And so without further ado, one of our members of the Executive Committee for the Stockton Branch, Mr. Scott Williamson.
Welcome, everyone. And I do need your claps because I am nervous. I need you to give me a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you very much. And welcome to the NAACP Freedom Fund, 85th Freedom Fund. Isn't that nice? And it's because of people like yourselves, people that have a heart like you, that want to give to our youth. I'm so proud to be here before you. So give yourselves a round of applause, would you please? Thank you very much. But I gotta say this, this crowd reminds me of walking in the mall one day. And there was a large crowd in the mall, it's crowded out. And there was this little kid, 3 years old, walking with his mother. And I say to him, and you know when you can get eye contact from a distance, right? Am I right, Eric Jones? You know when we're looking at each other, right? We know. And so this kid, 3 years old, looking at me from a distance in the mall. I said, okay, and he breaks away, and all of a sudden he has skills. You know he got skills because he's pivoting across all these people. And then when he got to me, I go, ta-da, and he goes, can I get your autograph? I said, for what? He said, aren't you Mike Tyson? I want to know what? I would have been his hero. Literally, I would have been his hero. But welcome. Literally, I had a complex for like 3 weeks. My mother calls me 3 weeks later. She says, how you doing, son? I said, I'm doing good, mother. How you doing? She said, what are you doing? So I'm watching CNN. She said, okay, all right. She said, you've been in the house ever since that little kid told you? I said, yeah. She said, boy, you better get up out of that house, come over here and help me. I need some work done in my house. I said, what do you need, mother? She said, I got some crap that this cat been over here trapped in my yard and needs to come pick it up. I was so upset. Then she said some stuff like this. She said, Mike Tyson is not a bad looking man. It made it worse for me. You know, I haven't talked to him since. No. But I'm just kidding. But thank you for allowing me to MC on tonight. And thank you for all your contributing. I love to be here around you. Just your presence, it really overwhelms me. And as we, the pastor come and give an invocation.
Hi, I am Damon Bridges, the senior pastor of Restoration for Life Ministries here in the city of Stockton. And I thank you for allowing me to be here, be a part of this wonderful, joyous banquet. And I'm honored to do the invocation for this evening. May we bow our heads. Father, we ask right now for your hand to be upon us as we continue out throughout the evening. We ask that you continue to bless us, strengthen us, encourage us, help us to be modern day Nehemiahs, help us to rebuild the walls of our city and the gates of our city, the moral fabric of our city. Help us to restore, renew, and replenish that which has been broken down and stolen. Father, we thank you for anointing us to do those things which you have called us to do. Help us to be strong in you and in the power of your might. We thank you for it in advance. And bless this food tonight as we partake in this food. Allow this food to be nourishing to our bodies. Allow this time of fellowship to be edifying and unify us. Continue to make us one in this city. And we give your name praise, we give you honor, and we give you glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Now, would everyone please stand?
Your seat. It's entitled Lift Every Voice and Sing. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmony of liberty. Every voice sing.
You can have your seats now. Thank you. Now, a good effort, ladies and gentlemen. Good effort. Thank you. Now for our recognitions of dignitary and our recognitions of previous freedom fighters, we want to call up Mrs. Cynthia Summers. Let's give her a round of applause as she comes.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. I would like to recognize the dignitaries that are here tonight. Judge William Murray. Attorney Tory Glover. Supervisor Kathleen Miller from the San Joaquin County Board of Supervisors. Vice Mayor Christina Falazi. Stockton Unified School District Board Member Daniel Phillips. County Board of Supervisors James Mussolini. Police Chief Eric Jones. Tom Patty, who was just recently elected to the San Joaquin County Board of Supervisors. And James Mussolini, I got it down twice, but James Mussolini, County Board of Supervisors. We're going to tag team. Dan Wright. I see Dan at the back. Council member Dan Wright, please stand. Council member-elect Jesus Andrade. Past Superintendent of Stockton Unified School District, Mr. Tolliver. And we have our friend freedom fighters, our past freedom fighters who have received our award in past years. So all of our past freedom fighters, I'll try to go through your names, but we'd like for you all to please stand at this time if you've received the Freedom Fighter Award from the NAACP. And we're also very proud that we have some of our Greek organizations represented. I think we have our president of the Delta Sigma Theta. We also have our president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. We have the president of El Concilio of Stockton, California, Mr. Jose Rodriguez. Then we have our president from the Stockton Chamber. We have any chamber presidents present? Now, we want all of you to stand because everyone in this room is a very important person to us. Please stand and give yourselves a round of applause. Come on, you can do it.
Thank you, thank you. Now, I would like to ask to come up Dr. Irene Outlaw and Gary Rich.
Wow, Gary, isn't this exciting? Indeed it is. Indeed it is. They put us down for history. But surely, because this is the Freedom Fund banquet, and the NAACP has been around for so long, since 1909, in the famous month of February, 2 days before Valentine's Day, on Abraham Lincoln's birthday. They already know this.
Well, yeah, but I could use a refresher. Plus, isn't it true that February is a good one they also don't tell about?
Or don't tell.
Well, it's a fabulous month, that proves it. We really should take a little time to review our history. And so we're going to do a little bit on the national, and we'll also do a little bit about our branch 85 years into our history. We take credit for all of this. That is the branch we were awarded the best branch in California in our region this year. Thanks to those small parties.
Early on, Gary asked me how much did Bobby make for this.
Yeah, we all want to know what.
And we said he gets no money.
Yeah.
But what he does get is justice where there is injustice. He gets freedom where there was false imprisonment. He gets knowledge where there seemed to be lack of. He gives assurance where there was insecurity. And he makes a way out of no way. And because of his perseverance, our chapter in Stockton has received the top award from NAACP National for the best chapter in this particular area. In the state of California and Hawaii.
First of all, I want to give honor and glory to God for the branch winning the state best branch award this year. And it doesn't come from me, it comes from the work of all the people that are involved, all of our executive committee members, and I'd ask them to stand wherever they are. And for a quick moment, and quickly stand. You all that work in the community to support the NAACP and in the work that we do. As Dr. Albaugh said none of the team gets paid, and either you love what you're doing and you believe in fighting for justice, or you don't. So if you don't do it. But again, I want to thank you all for supporting us this evening in this endeavor, and may God bless you all and travel safe in the rain.
While much of the NAACP history is chronicled in books, articles, pamphlets, and magazines, the true movement lies in the faces of the diverse, multiracial army, that's you guys, of ordinary women and men from every walk of life, race, and class, united to awaken the consciousness of people of the nation. The NAACP will remain vigilant in its mission, for the promise of America is made for all Americans. We have the one question. Are you with us? Are you with us? Thank you.
Once again, let's give it a applause for our President Bobby Goodman.
Yes.
And Jeremy and Dr. Irene Outlaw. Give them a hand. And we'll be back in about 10 minutes, so enjoy your food. And if they have any leftovers, just raise your hand, I'll come and chop them. Thank you. Once again, I hope that everyone is enjoying yourself, and I'm going to call up our President Bobby Bivens.
Good evening again. We're going to bless you with our speaker while you're eating to help the digestion of your food. And we know that you are going to hear from a man that has a mighty impact on what happens in America. This man is frequently in the White House, in the halls of Congress, in the halls of the Senate, negotiating, lobbying, agitating, and doing everything that has to be done to influence justice in America. You have a program book with his bio in it, so I'm not going to read his bio. I'm going to talk about the person that I've known for over 20 years. His name is Hillary Shelton. He is the father of 3. He is married for 46 years. He also has the distinction of being the son-in-law of Ambassador Andrew Young, Jr. So he comes from high stock, and in their house there are high expectations. In the house of the NAACP, our primary lobbyists, there are high expectations. And for the 20 years that I've known Hillary, he has delivered with great high promise. Every year, the Office of our Advocacy puts out a report card on every congressional representative in the United States. And I'm proud to say that every year, the congressman from Stockton, Jerry McNerney, has received AA on the report card. And that has to do with supporting civil rights activities throughout the United States. Now, a little further down the road, a C comes across every now and then in the other congressional districts, but in this district, A's come from our congressional representatives for civil rights. So I'm not going to spend a lot more time talking about Hillary Shelton, because we need to hear from Hillary Shelton on what's going on in America and what our future is going to look like from the NAACP perspective. So with no further ado, Mr. Hillary O. Shelton.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I know it's hard when you're working on food as delicious as that. Because one of the challenges is you've got a few bottles of wine on your table. sometimes that can lead to other things, but good evening. First, I want to thank my dear friend, Bobby Bivens. He was one of the first I met coming to the NAACP, and has been just a wonderful friend ever since. It's time to get things done on Capitol Hill. We're going to have challenges and need to make sure that California is weighed in well. I reach out to my friend Bobby Bivens, and he has never let me down. You all join me and give him a big hand. Bobby, let me also say, brother, as I sat listening to those overly generous words, I was taken back to the story of a woman who had been recently widowed. See, she sat on the front pew of her church as friend and neighbor, co-worker, and others all came by one, giving great accolades to her recently deceased husband. This went on almost to the point of acknowledging. Finally, she leaned over to her son and said, "Son, would you please get up and see what it is in that box they're talking about? The Lord knows it ain't your daddy." But with that in mind, give Bobby another big hand for his courage. I bring you greetings and appreciation from the President and CEO of the NAACP, Mr. Cordell William Brooks, the Chair of our National Board of Directors, Ralph McAllister Brock. Our 64-member National Board of Directors, we have 38 state conferences, where we literally have units in every state in the United States, but also on military bases in Italy, Germany, Korea, and Japan. We organize the country in 7 regions and 2,200 membership units throughout the country, in which Stockton is clearly at the top of that list. Give yourselves another big hand. Youth and college units, and over 500,000 card-carrying members, and it is my hope that for those of you who are here tonight, if you do not have an NAACP membership card in your wallet, that before you leave this meeting, that you will very well get one of those and have it ready. Because let me also say this, membership indeed has its privilege. It's not enough to know that Dr. King very well had an NAACP lifetime membership card in his wallet as well. Now, he understood the value of membership too, because on the back of that card, he had Thurgood Marshall, who was our general counsel, home phone number. So on those days and the accounts, he found himself going to jail to support the issues that were so important to his heart, the things that were so important to our agenda and concerns, uplifting civil rights and moving that agenda forward from time to time to show how serious he was. He would find himself going to jail. Now, let me just say this. It is a wonderful thing to be able to have that level of conviction that you would go to jail for what you believe in. But it is not good how we're in the state. So being able to have that first call to the brother who can bring to you not only the legal expertise, but also the NAACP dollars to pay your bill, is just a good thing to do. So indeed, I hope you'll join, but even thinking about what I think about. That is, I keep my NAACP membership card right next to my driver's license in my wallet. On those rather rare occasions that I see the blinking lights in my rearview mirror, and I'm on that deserted road and pull over to the side to see just what's on that police officer's mind. It's a good thing for me when I'm all alone, when they come up to my window and ask for that driver's license, just by some coincidence. My NAACP card seems to be stuck to the back of it. And by yet another coincidence, in front of that police officer, I will peel my membership card off from my driver's license. So as I hand my driver's license to him, I want him to know that I may be driving by myself, but I am not alone. It's good to have an NAACP membership card in your wallet too. Don't leave home without it. So brothers and sisters, I'm just honored to be here. I'm honored to be here because I know the great work and I know the great leadership that you have in this branch. I've followed it for years. I've come out from time to time, and more importantly, whenever we needed their help in Washington, they've come out to be with us as well. They've made sure that the issues and challenges, the concerns, and everything else that's going on here in California is heard very loudly and very clearly. It makes them bring that perspective forward, and for that we'll be ever grateful to know that we have that well-rounded understanding of what's going on. I've said this name before, but I hope you'll join me in recognizing that there's no one in your membership unit that gets paid for what they do. They all do it out of love in their heart and the commitment that they have for justice, freedom, and civil rights in our country. And I hope you'll join me just once again in knowing that your president, if he applied the prowess and the understanding and the strategies that he knows to making money, he'll be wealthier than Bill Gates. But he gives that to us here, so please give Bobby Bivens one more hand for us. Look, he doesn't do it by himself. He has an incredible executive committee that begins with the first vice president, Ms. Cynthia Summers. Give her a big hand. The second vice president, so we understand the power of prayer. That is, we start every meeting with it, so we've gone into areas we've never been in before. It can only be through a level of faith and a power much greater than us. We've been able to get things done the way we have in this country and advance that agenda. We have a great second vice president. Give Reverend Ronnie Murray a big hand as well. Our third vice president is somebody who's incredibly sharp too. Please give DeAndre Davey a big hand as well. Now look, you probably assume from all the things I said about the president, the power that he has, you see him all the time. But if one quote on what the NAACP is thinking, what's going on in the communities that we represent, you see him on television, you hear him on the radio, you read his quotes in the newspaper, so it is your assumption that he is the most powerful person in the branch, but not at the NAACP. You see, at the NAACP, the most powerful person really is the secretary. You see, it's the secretary that maintains all the correspondence with the national office and quite frankly maintains your charter. It is the secretary that takes minutes at your meeting and tells you later what you actually said. It's your secretary that receives all the incoming correspondence and tells you, I'm going to get this together now, and tells you indeed what's going on besides what to share with the president. It really is the secretary at the NAACP with the power. So I hope you'll join me in giving Reverend Edmund Green a huge hand. Now, the next person I want to point out to you is our treasurer. Darvina Clinton is someone that handles our money. Let me put it this way. Anybody that's willing to handle the NAACP's money deserves a Congressional Gold Medal of Honor. It takes a high level of courage to be able to walk into a meeting and share with the membership exactly what's in those coffers. And then a week later, almost as they're planned, I'm convinced that as we listen to that secretary's report, we're convinced that they have more money in our treasury than we just heard. That being said, you really have to be on your P's and Q's to be able to handle our money. I've just come back from a branch in South Carolina. Because of the report that was given at one of the meetings, somehow or another the treasurer just disappeared. Now, the money is still in the account, but we still cannot find that treasurer. It's a dangerous position to be in, but the fact that Darvina Clinton is still around knows what they're doing. Give her a big hand as well. To all of our members of the Stockton Executive Committee, and to all those that make things happen on a daily basis, we're grateful. But we're also grateful for being here tonight. As I look around the room, I'm seeing what looks like the descriptions of the beginnings of the NAACP. What I'm seeing is African Americans and white Americans and people of all different races and hues that are involved in our struggle. As you heard earlier, as we think about who those founding members were, they were like you. They were black and white and other races and other ethnicities. They were Christians and Jews and other backgrounds. We were so far ahead of the integration curve in 1909. It's amazing to see how we continue to grow and be what we are today. But with that, as I look around, I'm thinking about the great success of this dinner tonight. Just because you're all here, let me just say, y'all look good. But the The planning committee for this banquet to put all this together was also led by someone who I've got to know over the years, and quite frankly, is extremely progressive and impressive. So please give LaWanna Bivens another big hand. I do want to thank the other dignitaries, the sponsors, our partners. I appreciate our sponsors and partners, not just because they're willing to write the check, but y'all keep writing those checks. But I thank you very much for being our partners, for standing side by side and believing in what we believe in, to help make that vision of what America ought to be as we live up to the promises of our Constitution. But you're here with us. Please give all of our sponsors a huge hand for their support tonight. You know, as I thought about what we are and what we've been, to be able to know where we're going, as we think about even the theme for tonight, the NAACP's journey for justice, I think about those things about when we began in 1904 and made our way to 1909. We knew about that small apartment in New York City where they gathered, and those of great privilege could have continued to enjoy that privilege. When I think about the great W.E.B. Du Bois, one of our founding members, an African-American that was able to go to Harvard University, the first African-American in history to graduate with a PhD from that fine institution. The brother was so bad he went back and got 2 more. It shows you how sharp these people were. I think about Mary White Overton and the resources that she had bringing to the table as she began to move our agenda forward as well. When I think about all of that, I think about how they could have very well enjoyed their great lives in New York City. There were people of privilege and education. They could have decided to just enjoy themselves and grow their own fortunes, but they believed. Did not on their watch. Could we allow what had happened in Springfield, Illinois, with so-called race riots in which African Americans were hung from the big oak tree? They thought about the challenges that were going on in so many other cities and said that not on our watch can we sit back and allow America to not live up to its constitutional promises. Not on our watch can we allow this to continue. So they met, and they had to be, quite frankly, on the Canadian side of the border. The so-called Niagara movement, you may have heard those terms before. Because they knew there were those that would be out to get them. That there were those who would attack not only their livelihoods, but attack their lives as well. But they were willing to take on that risk, the risks of that courage, and our organization was born and continued to move forward. It took on many issues as things lived up there, recognizing everything falls into basically 3 spheres. Something that looks most like maybe the Olympic spheres or rings that you see sometimes, so 5 rings, but only 3. The 3 I'm talking about are issues of our society, our social concerns. Then we have our legal concerns, and from that we have our political concerns. Now, those don't happen independently. They're locked together much like the Olympic rings I mentioned. If you're going to talk about what's economic, you're going to talk about also what's social. You can't move our social agenda forward without talking about what's economic or politics. Politics, by definition, is the process, procedure, or method of determining who gets what, when, where, and on what terms. So in essence, as we think about that politics moving forward, we're thinking about those 3 rings all the time. So I thought about those concerns. I thought about how we've moved ahead over the years. See, our organization is 107 years old. It's amazing as we think about it in those terms as well, that the new slogan that's being used by our friends at Black Lives Matter, and some of our young people, they become actively involved in our movement. What they're saying is that we have to look at what's going on in our country not as a moment in time, but as part of a movement. Let me just say that when you belong to a 107-year-old organization, you understand the power of movement. You understand how we move forward so well to address so many concerns that affect all of us. I thought about how we moved then from the struggles at the beginnings of our organization to the year 1914. It was in 1914 that the NAACP, working with the U.S. Congress, introduced its first piece of legislation. Legislation that you heard earlier was to address the issues of lynching in our society. You see, we recognize the lynchings that were going on, and I won't go into much detail, but just to tell you, if you want to know more, just Google lynchings in the United States, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Those that were hung from the big oak tree, but even sometimes hung from the courthouse right in the middle of town. Those that had been arrested on some circumstances and cases and put in a jail cell. But even as those gangs of racists would go to the jail to get the jail would often hand the key over to them so they can take that person out, so they can torture them, lynch them, burn them, shoot them, do all the things we've seen done before. For those who haven't seen it, take a look at what happened to Emmett Till. Understanding the struggles and whatnot of just a kid, a teenager, being taken out of the house of his aunt, tortured, beaten, hung, and then thrown off the bridge into the river. In essence, we knew about those challenges and knew much more needed to be done. So in 1914, we introduced legislation to talk about just that. But because of the collusion of the U.S. Senate, it was not able to ever get through. It's sad to see that unfortunately we had those even in power. We'll get back to that and just finish thinking about this last election for a minute, brothers and sisters. But those in official power, they would use that power in such an outrageous manner in which they would do those kinds of things. So I thought about how we tried to move that bill, they blocked us. But I also thought about very well how, as we've gone through the movement, that even just 10 years ago, we had a piece of legislation introduced by a senator from Louisiana. That legislation actually said that we want to apologize as the United States Senate. We want to apologize for having blocked that legislation. We believe we ought to be ashamed of ourselves, but want to make it better. In essence, we were moved to address it under its new title, Lynchings of Days Gone By, of Hate Crimes That Happen Today. And with that, we were able to move anti-hate crimes legislation through the United States Congress in a much more comprehensive way than ever before. We'd like to say that even as much as we weren't able to get it done then, it doesn't mean that we lost or that we quit. It means that we just ain't done fighting. We continue to win those battles. I was mentioned before the film Birth of a Nation in 1918. The Birth of a Nation was a film that was done by D.W. Griffith. It was a film that won more accolades than anything else at that time of our history. It was a film that actually scared people so bad that in many cases they went running out of movie theaters because of what they saw. But we should be outraged by what they saw as well as we were then. You see, that was the first issue we took out, which we had demonstrations in front of the movie theaters. Not because we said the film shouldn't be shown, but we wanted to make sure people understood that it was bigger than what they saw on the screen. What they saw on the screen was actually the love for the Ku Klux Klan. What we saw were those who were the night riders of those days gone by, trying to chase African Americans that were leaving slavery and leaving the South back to those plantations. What we saw in that film was African Americans being elected into the Congress, into the state legislatures. You see, up until this year, we had more African Americans serving in the United States Senate during the Reconstruction period than any other time since. But because you guys are sending us that bad sister, it's going to come to Washington that used to serve in your state legislature. She was your state attorney, I believe, wasn't she? That's right. Now you all are sending her to us because my dear friend Barbara Box has decided to retire. I just want to say very loudly and very clearly, thank you so much for standing up. Understanding those struggles when it happened then and paralleling them to what's happening today, we knew the fight had to go in many other areas as well. We talked about those issues taken to our U.S. Senate as we talked about the issues of hate crimes. But we also talked about the issues what we had to take to court. You see, it was the NAACP being led by many of those greats like Thurgood Marshall and others that we were able to win the Brown versus Board of Education decision in 1954. A doctrine of separate but equal was one that carried the state during that time. One that said that even though our Constitution guarantees equal protection under law, it doesn't mean that we have to live together. But in essence, what we were able to establish is if we are separate, we will not be equal. We also, you got a big hand as well. We also learned that from that struggle that very well those who were living in separate categories and separate conditions and places were unable to be able to enjoy the full benefits of citizenship. We learned then that quite frankly, when we talked about those current concerns in our communities, that if resources were going to be made available for public schools, we were not going to get our share. As a matter of fact, half the time, we got nothing at all. We recognize that as long as they had separate but equal the same resources in living in our communities, everything from hauling away trash to even allow us to live in nice houses if our money could pay for it. Because of our race, we were turned away. Something called a codicil was utilized in communities. And I'll bet if you take a closer look at even your own community, you'll probably find some of those codicils that are no longer effective or were no longer on the books. Codicils said that you can only sell your home to someone who is the same race as you are. In other words, maintaining segregation in our society. Well, we took those issues on because Brown versus Board of Education established for the first time it can't be separate. We cannot allow federal funds or any other governmental funds to be utilized in this kind of discriminatory manner. If indeed we're going to have to move our nation forward and make that change, and we did. That fight then moved us to the Congress yet again. In the Congress, where we recognize that even as much as the Constitution guaranteed equal protection under law, the Constitution guaranteed that every American, even those of former servitude, as the 15th Amendment to the Constitution reads, will be guaranteed an opportunity to cast an unvetted vote and have that vote counted, and that no policies, procedure, or manner would ever be put in place to block us from being able to vote. But we learned some hard things after that because we're talking about the early 1870s. Because between then and 1965, we recognized that the African American churches were often burned to the ground because they were indeed our gathering place to plan for our voter registration and voter empowerment activities. We recognized that civil rights workers and those that would go and help register voters would be killed, as we saw happen in Philadelphia, Mississippi, when Schwerner, Cheney, and Goodman were actually killed by the Klan and then thrown into the Philadelphia River. We saw what happened in so many cases as even preachers. We had those in the clergy stand up because you have a very special place in our heart. Those that were willing to take on the risk and actually march those to the registration sites to make sure we could all cast that vote and be prepared to register, and watch the likes of Bull Connor beat them to the ground with billiard clubs saying that, yeah, but not you. So as I was coming here knowing who you guys are as well and the great struggles you've been involved in, I called Reverend Hope while I was stopped over on my way in here. As a matter of fact, I called him and I said, well, Reverend Hope, look, I'm on my way to Stockton, California. He said, you mean that troublemaker Bobby Beavers? I said, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I said, well, brother, what do I say to those who've been on the battlefield for so long? What can I bring to them? I'm the guy that's in the halls of Congress. And Reverend Hope, being the very thoughtful guy that he is, he said, well, Brother Shelton, you should do what I do. Whenever I'm preparing to give an important lecture or sermon, whenever I'm preparing for something very important, I first read my text or my Bible. I then pray to God that He might speak through me and that I might bring that spirit forward. I said, Reverend, I love you, brother. I appreciate what you're saying, but they're calling me to get on this flight, and I still don't know what to say. Reverend Hope is one of these brothers that also ascribes to what he calls the ABC principles of life. The ABC principles. That is, no matter what the task is, I'll challenge him to go ahead of you. You must always be cool. And with that, and I push him as I did Reverend Hope, as to access and utilize his most high-level patience or coolness. And he cleared the story and said, well, Brother Shelton, maybe this will help you. You see, there's a story in the Old Testament about a man named Balaam. You see, Balaam also sought God's guidance, so he took his donkey out into the desert where he could clearly hear what God had in store for him. I said, Reverend Hope, I got to get on this plane. I don't know what to say. I do appreciate the great training you got at the Intertheological Seminary in Atlanta, Georgia. But brother, I got to go. He said, well, Brother Shelton, maybe you can think about it like this. If God can speak through Balaam's donkey, He can certainly speak through you. We go to stop. We don't wait. So as we move through this process, I thought about what happened when that great triangle became complete. I thought about those marchers that were down in Selma, Alabama. They're marching across the Edmund Pettus Bridge because they wanted to bring home that even though the right was given, the opportunity wasn't. Voting was something that was so aloof and separated from so many African Americans, more needed to be done. But because of that march in Alabama, we were brought back again to Springfield, Illinois, and thought about the beginnings of our struggle and those who were being lynched, who lost their businesses and homes, and how the fight had to happen. Then thought about how all that brought us back to Washington, D.C., so that we could pass the Voting Rights Act of 1965. It's an amazing thing to me. When I think about those things in those terms and how symbolic all that becomes, I think about a young brother that decided that it was time for him to act. He moved in to Washington, D.C. after being elected to the U.S. Senate. He decided that he would seek the presidency of the United States of America and went back to Springfield, Illinois. Springfield, Illinois, where he announced that he would run for president and make sure everything would be different. Our country would be able to move ahead as it should. When I thought about it in those terms, I thought about how the NAACP, for all these 107 years, has worked so hard to blaze paths and pave roads. Blaze paths to go where we've never gone before, but we know that those we've experienced in the country, where when you're blazing a path, you're actually burning the grass and the weeds on the ground so that you can actually get down a particular path. But if you don't do anything about it, grass will simply grow over it again. But we knew the way to go. And we knew that we had to very well pave that road as well. And so with that, we watched this brother move from one end of the country to the other, and we saw for the first time in American history, as we watched that man and his beautiful wife and those two gorgeous daughters move into the White House at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And the first time I went over and saw that swing set sitting on the front lawn, I said, brothers and sisters, Lord have mercy. It's a different day in America. And you never go back.
Okay, let's do a little bit better than for Hillary Jackson. We want to give him a little token for his journey out here. And you all need to understand his plane was 2.5 hours late getting here this afternoon. He had a short visit, a short stay, and his limousine is waiting for him outside right now. So without any further ado, I'd like to present a certificate or a plaque of appreciation, and it says to 2016 National NAACP Annual Freedom Fund Banquet Gala Keynote Speaker, Mr. Hillary Shelton. And Judge Bill Murray put together a program, Bill, you here too? Called a Community Court Liaison, which empowered people in community-based organizations to advocate on the behalf of the clients they serve throughout the judicial system. What they did was presented a mini log cake class for all of us that are out here doing this, and there were at least 100 of us that went through it, and Judge Barbianos and Judge Murray not only did that, but the state of California recognized the work, many courts in the state of California recognized the work, and now the work is being duplicated throughout the state of California in the judicial system. This is the freedom fight.
From my perspective, as a Stockton native and a Franklin grad, and by the way, I need my high school graduation picture. I'm just so honored and humbled to be here. I'm so familiar with the work and working with Bobby and others. It's just an honor that it just humbles you. The only other thing that comes to mind to compare with it is when I had a brain aneurysm as well. Like Mary in 2013, and I was out for 2 months, and could have easily have died in that episode. But walked into prison, Central California Women's Facility, and the women that we work with in the school program would walk in And Liz comes up to me, because she helps us educate kids. She's sort of like without parole, she's helping us educate kids, right? She walks up, she grabs my hand and says, Judge, I'm so glad to see you. We've all been praying for you. And I thought, wow. The message is there really can be that justice system. You know, there can be a system that truly have well, justice system. To me, that's what moments like this mean. I do have to take a minute to thank my mentor judge, who's my mentor in the DA's office as well. When we were at Justice Murray, I mean, he kind of Not only was a great mentor, but always managed to put me in positions where I could do the things that I do, for lack of a better phrase. Also, we have Helen and Jay here from the court staff, and those are the people that do all of the work. Trust me, they have to keep up with this crazy judge that has all these different ideas. But they're the ones that do all the work. But what I really want to focus on tonight is sitting at the table that I wouldn't do because I asked him to come, is Chief Jones, and I asked her to come in. Our Chief Probation Officer, Stephanie James. In the back is our Deputy District Attorney, Tori Riverside. And also at our tables, our Public Defender, Miriam White. And the reason why this is so important, because as you look to the future, I'm here to tell you our future is going to be good. I know these people, I know their hearts. This system is going to be a justice system. Could not be in better hands. We have a group of people who are truly working to keep people out of jail, to get them into the community, link them with services. I've never seen anything like this in the justice system. So I'm just looking forward to what we're going to be able to do in the years to come. Because the path of the future, at least in my opinion, now I'm always doubtful, that path of the future, in my opinion, could not be more right. So thank you. I'm honored, and I'm just honored to be part of such a great team.
Okay, now comes for the president.
October 20th, 2014, Olga Rodriguez started as the new executive director of the Haven of Peace Homeless Shelter for Women and Children in French Camp, California. Olga worked 7 years for the Community Partnership for Families as a site director for 2 of their locations. In that capacity, Olga worked toward connecting and referring low-income families in various programs. She started her career in the education field as a teacher and later became principal. I had the pleasure of visiting her facilities, and I think she's doing an awesome job with the people that I've met that she's servicing in this facility. With my pleasure, I now present to you the our Medgar Evers Freedom Fighter Award.
First and foremost, I would like to give God thanks for allowing me to be here tonight. I'd like to also give the National Association for the advancement of the colored people for this wonderful award for nominating me tonight. Did not expect that. It's definitely an honor. And I just want to thank each of you for all that you do, for the wonderful work that you do for the community, for the children, for the youth, our future, which they are our future. So I want to congratulate you as well for all the hard work, the dedication, the support that you have given the community for many years. So may God bless you in your endeavor and all the things that you do. And thank you so very much for having me here tonight and presenting me with this wonderful award. May God bless you. The next freedom fighter that I have the pleasure is Bishop Stephen Blair. The Most Reverend Stephen E. Blair has had a variety of assignments since his ordination to the priesthood in 1967. In 1986, with the reorganization of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, Father Blair was appointed to serve as the moderator of the Curia. A year later, he received the title of Monsignor and took a strong leadership role in shaping the Archdiocese with pastoral prudence and wisdom, setting the pace needed for the overall reorganization efforts. He has a keen understanding that shared responsibility between government and other institutions to promote the common good of all, especially those who struggle to live in dignity should be our mission. Since being ordained a bishop, he serves 77 parishes and 1 million people in his pastoral region. Accepting on his behalf is Monsignor John Armstead.
This is dangerous to give a preacher a microphone. But luckily for you, I've got the bishop's words. Dear members of the NAACP Stockton, my friends, to receive the Freedom Fighter Award came as a great surprise to me. But it allows me to honor all of you for the long history of NAACP in working to create full and equal participation of all people in the liberties of our country. This award really belongs to each and every one of you. Unfortunately, our work is not done. Racism.
I really want to say that the biggest thing that we all need to be engaged in at this point in time is figuring out how we can come together and work together to improve the quality of life in our community. We also have a change of guard in the White House, and for those of us that have become accustomed and very happy the fact that we had Barack Hussein Obama in the White House, he is leaving. And I'm saying that with sadness because it brought pride and joy to the African American community. It brought pride and joy to the Caucasian community, to Latino communities, to Asian communities, to Native American communities. We had President Obama that brought to the White House care, concern, and interest in all people. He's been the most popular president throughout the world of any president in the history of the United States of America. And personally, I'm sad to see him go. Now, with him leaving, we brought in a fellow that has talked very negatively about all people, women, veterans, people of color, talked about divisive type things. So we must come together to make sure that those things that our current president-elect has spoke about does not take place. And we have started through the Obama administration new protocols for local police and for justice. Our chief has worked very hard, our DA has worked hard, our sheriff has worked hard, and the judicial system, and we don't want to see some folk coming in that don't care about people trying to undo the work that has been done. We've had more violence take place since the election than probably in the last 5 or 10 years, and it's got to settle down, but we've all got to do our part in a positive way to make sure that we work together and we are Americans. It's not whether we're black, white, Caucasian, Asian, we are Americans. And so with that, I'm asking all of you to make a commitment to work with us in the NAACP, to join the NAACP, and let us make this fight happen in the right way, in a positive way, to maintain the gains that we've made over the past 8 to 10 years. So with that, I will say thank you all for coming and supporting us. Freedom ain't free. Membership's only $30 a year. Life membership's only $750. We're the cheapest union in the world. And we will fight for you when your union don't fight for you. So we're inviting you to our branch that has been blessed to be the top branch in the state of California, to keep this fight up and to maintain that level of achievement for our community and for the state. God bless you all. Thank you very much. And we look forward to